Hey there, athletes. Coach John Ferry here from Team Wilpers. Excited as always to welcome you to our athlete briefing for week 3 of our summer run challenge. We're going to start, per usual, with a little review of week 2. We started off the week with that tempo runs. This is the first tempo run of this challenge, incorporating both marathon and half marathon pace intervals. So these tempo efforts are a great opportunity not only to practice pacing, but also practice at holding the holding part of a really steady pace during these intervals, especially our endurance race pace intervals like this. So finding pace, holding steady pace over the course of these kind of little bit longer intervals here. Run number 2 this week was our interval run. So we had an advancement of those mixed speed interval workouts. So we're continuing to hit threshold and VO2 max in this workout. A little reminder of what we're doing here across the scope of the whole challenge, working on that 5K-ish race season here in the summertime. So it's just a little reminder that our 5K pace really tends to fall between that threshold and VO2 max level. So we're kind of coming after this from 2 angles in the same workout here. Long run, our backbone of our training plan, so slow, steady, and enjoyable always on that one. It's my weekly reminder to make sure you continue to get into that website, check the box, chase the 100% completion percentage. In endurance sport, consistency is king, so make sure to keep going, chasing that 100%. Now let's jump into our week 3 workout. So we're coming back again with another tempo run, if you will, but there are a few big things that differentiate this from a week ago. So the more overall time in zone. Also a little bit shorter rest to go along with that. And then finally, no drop back to marathon pace in the third section there. We're doing all half marathon pace this week. So overall, it's just a slightly harder workout than a week ago. Wanted to take another moment here just as another reminder that when we talk about half marathon pace, which is going to be the main pace of this workout, it's not necessarily and or not always the pace in which you would go and run an actual half marathon. What we're really thinking about here, especially in the training aspect of it, is a training pace that represents a really high percentage of threshold. So for the zone lovers out there, you're really operating here at the very tip-top end of zone 3 and probably even flirting a little bit with the very bottom end of zone 4 there at our half marathon training pace. So this should be a pace that you can still hold for quite some time. So even though we're getting up to about 15 minutes of total time here, really shouldn't be a problem. A pace you could hold for at least an hour, if not longer. So once again, baseline workout has 15 minutes of half marathon pace over the course of it. Easy breezy. Key run number 2 here, our interval work. So one more advancement on a kind of mixed speed progression. But there are pretty big tweaks again here going into week 3 from both week 1 and week 2. So the big tweaks here are extended duration intervals at threshold, right? So there's a bigger chunky threshold time, getting a lot of threshold from the kind of just sub threshold on the half marathon pace, more threshold here, kind of actually getting up to that level a little bit longer periods. More of an overall threshold tilt to the workout, kind of what I was alluding to. You know, before we had a little bit of VO2 max to start, some threshold stuff back into VO2 max. This is going to be a threshold heavy workout with a VO2 max finish. And then the final thing is we're finishing hard with a VO2 max interval, which we've done before. It's just a little bit of an extended session. So we've already talked about, why I like having athletes finish these workouts kind of on a fast high note here. But this is a great opportunity to practice kind of closing down the final leg of a race and or just other hard workouts. You're going to be a little bit fatigued coming into that final block. You're going to have to kind of push past your comfort zone just a little bit, get into that VO2 max, hold it for a few minutes there, finish out the workout, go into your cool down. So once again, opportunity to practice closing out the end of finishing a race hard, but also just finishing workouts hard consistently. We see, plenty of times it's okay. Workouts fall off, set interval after interval after interval. Kind of want to go the opposite way, kind of finish with a bang, especially in the structure of this workout here. For both workouts, both kind of key workouts here, really require good, accurate pacing early in the workout to set up success in the end. If you overshoot those early paces, it's going to be more difficult to really deliver that final big kick that we're going to in the VO2 max workout, but also even the sustained threshold sets. You want to make sure you're not overshooting those paces early. Both also have interval durations that are plenty manageable in warm weather training conditions. So as a matter of fact, taking these workouts outside, doing them with a little bit of heat, it's going to help acclimate and get you ready to actually kind of go after a 5K-ish or any other race distance in this kind of warmer weather. But doing the kind of intense tempo and or VO2 max or threshold work outside in the warm weather is going to really help you get ready for those kind of hot races that are definitely coming up. Naturally, we finished the week with our endurance run, easy pace, start to finish. Once again, feel free to reduce the pace. Just mentioned heat a little bit. It's coming more and more across most of the country now. It's getting warmer and warmer week by week. The best thing you can do to kind of counteract that, reduce your pace, try to relax, try to focus on your effort. Feel free to take walk breaks, take some water when you need it. Focus on the time and general feel of what you're supposed to be doing out there. So let's jump into a couple questions that kind of came up from the group this week. I actually really like this one. It's a good start here. So my question is, I'm doing 3 days a week, and then I've been riding my bike 3 other days and taking a rest day. But I'm really thinking I should have a 4th run day. Is it better to run 4 days a week if I'm trying to build a base for a fall marathon? And if so, would riding my bike the other 2 days still be a benefit? And so this is a great opportunity for me to answer my favorite way, which everyone knows, which is it depends on a couple things here. So I'm going to kind of start with the positive, the more running side of it. So overall, yeah, I prefer athletes, especially who are going to approach a marathon, to have more than 3 days a week of running. 4 days a week is what I was kind of say I really like as a baseline. 3 is the absolute minimum, and it might even be more. And the reason that is there's an efficiency piece that is critical to success in the marathon. The more miles that you ultimately accumulate while staying healthy, being a huge caveat, the better opportunity you have to build efficiency, which is really to cover a mile with using less energy, less calories from your body. That's what we're going for in the marathon, a ton of efficiency. So if I can have an athlete running 4 days versus a week versus 3, it not only is an additional session, but when I think about having kind of a baseline in order to raise volume up, the more sessions make that much easier. If I only have 3 sessions, I can only extend them to a certain amount. How about 4th session? I can kind of start to stretch them all a little bit, and I'll be able to ultimately raise the volume a little bit better without having to go so hard every single time out. However, I've also worked with plenty of athletes that do have kind of sustainability problems with more running. They've got injury issues, and really a sweet spot for them tends to be somewhere around 3 times a week. As I said, anything less than 3, I just think it's not that you shouldn't be a runner, but the marathon might be the wrong choice, in my opinion. You know, someone else can say otherwise. But I want marathoners running a minimum 3 days a week. If you start breaking down after that point, utilizing cycling or another cross-training related activity to kind of fill that gap is great. So in essence, what you're doing there is unloading the impact and the footfalls on a different activity. And you can still do the same energy zone training. So if you're looking for that big aerobic base, trying to get more endurance, kind of Z2 training time, absolutely, you can take that to another kind of medium. Now, you're not going to get 100% crossover in terms of the efficiency of cycling, elliptical, whatever, to running in the way that a running workout will apply. But if that allows you to train more and stay healthier, then that's a really good way to go. Similarly, let's say you can add that kind of 4th run to your schedule for the week. Absolutely maintaining those 2 additional kind of cross-training activities, whether once again cycling, elliptical, swimming, whatever it might be, really important. So once again, you're able to train the energy zone. You're not going to have that crossover effect be perfect, but it's still awfully good, especially for lower leg related cardiovascular activities. That's a great addition to your schedule. So something I've talked about in the past is if you have a 3Q run workout, 3 quality workouts, so I would say 2 kind of structured workouts and a long run, that supplemental activity, no matter what it is, really all I'm looking for is kind of more endurance, kind of zone 2 training time. Not zone 3, not zone 4. Zone 2 training time is that supplemental time, especially if I'm thinking about on the bike. So I do my 2 structured run workouts, my long run, and then all supplemental zone 2 training time on the bike. On the flip side, if I was doing, let's say it was called a 2Q or a 2 quality workout, 1 structured workout, an easy run, and a long run, provides an opportunity to allow that cross training to now also be a key activity. So it could be that you want to do more kind of tempo work in zone 3, or you want to do threshold work in zone 4, or even do early season VO2 max work, zone 5. You can kind of go do that energy zone training on the bike. Once again, not going to translate 100% over to the run, but it's a whole lot better than doing nothing at all. So there's a lot of opportunity to utilize multiple disciplines to train ultimately just for the marathon. However, to come back in the end, I very much like the idea, especially of trying to base build, if you're healthy, if you can tolerate it, to try to get up to at least that 4 runs per week. It's going to allow you, once again, to kind of raise your overall volume a lot more, build that efficiency over the course of what is a nice long marathon build. Then our final question here was, how many times should we repeat the lunge matrix or calf stretch? Or about how long should we spend on them? So great question. Now they're there week after week, so people tend to forget about them. But the lunge matrix and the kind of the 3D calf matrix are great opportunities. And what their ambition is, because we haven't talked about them in a minute, is to mobilize those kind of different, either kind of the hips or the calves in 3 planes of motion, getting your body really warmed up and prepared to take on more strenuous load. So when I think about what's kind of the sweet spot there, one, there's not really like a too much, most likely. I mean, at a certain point, it's too much, but I've never known anyone to get there. It doesn't have to be long. Once you kind of learn the routine and get settled into it, it should really only take maybe 3 or 4 minutes at maximum to do both sides. So what I tend to do is kind of go through the motion with 3 movements to the left on all 3 postures, switch to the right, go through with kind of 3 movements, left, right, up, left, right. And that tends to do well for me. I'll similarly do it in the cool down, the same routine. I think that's what we do in kind of the longer duration video if you check that out actually. However, you adapt it to yourself. If it takes you a little bit longer to warm up or a little bit longer to get mobilized, or you need to start a little slower in it and then move a bit faster, all of that is great. There's a kind of an interesting thing with those is that they are intended to be dynamic. So when I kind of start them, I feel a little bit stiff and a little bit tighter. And so if I want to go through a couple repetitions of them, maybe especially if I'm feeling particularly tight, I might move a little bit faster through them and be a little bit more dynamic as I start to be just even a tiny bit more warmed up through the process. So there's no right, wrong, or indifferent here. This is something that you do for yourself to get your body prepared for motion. So feel free to experiment and find what works ultimately best for you. Otherwise, friends, that is all for our week 3 athlete briefing. Appreciate you as always and can't wait to see you back here for week 4. Have a great week.